It's another morning in Madrid, and people are going about their daily activities. Sergio, a salesman, is calling a client to tell them about his latest wares. Vagrant Israel is kicked out by the police for sleeping on the streets again. Gambling addict Trini asks the grocer to put today's expenses on her bill. And young Elena is telling her friend on the phone about her date with a guy she met online. When Elena's phone runs out of battery, she goes to a bar to get a coffee and asks employee Satur if he has a charger he can lend her. A coughing sick man enters the bar right behind her and rushes to the bathroom, which irritates owner Amparo, because people are constantly using her bar's toilet without paying. Israel barges in as well because he knows Amparo will feed him for free, and his constant loud quoting of the Bible irritates everyone there, including an impatient bank clerk, a street cleaner, and former cop Andres. However, it does not appear to bother Nacho because he is wearing headphones. Sergio and Trini enter the bar, and Trini is prepared to spend all of her remaining money on the slot machine. When the bank clerk grows tired of waiting for his breakfast, he decides to leave without it, but as soon as he steps outside, he is shot. Everyone in the streets flees, and everyone in the bar panics. But Nacho takes a moment to realize what is going on, because he did not hear the gunshot. There is no signal inside the bar, so they can't call the cops, so the street cleaner decides to go out anyway. Unfortunately, while checking on the bank clerk, he gets shot as well. Israel laughs and continues to quote the Bible while the others panic and fall to the floor. In fact, Israel wants to leave because he has church today. But Amparo persuades him to stay by offering him more food and promising to speak with the priest later. Trini carefully reaches for the remote and turns on the television. But as she flips through the channels, the group notices something strange. No one is discussing the deaths that occurred in the middle of Madrid's streets, which is extremely suspicious. While everyone is arguing about it, Trini looks outside and notices something even more suspicious. The bodies have vanished, and there isn't a drop of blood left. They don't understand why someone came by to pick up the bodies but didn't check on them, so the group entertains itself by watching television or chatting while waiting for help. Satur starts throwing out crazy theories, wondering if it's all a dream, or if they've been abducted by aliens or the government. After Amparo slaps him to make him see reason, the group begins going over the facts. Elena suspects the two men were connected, but it doesn't seem likely for a street cleaner and a bank clerk. Sergio, on the other hand, realizes that the shooter may not be a criminal, but rather a police officer. They may have received a tip-off that an important criminal is inside the bar, but they have no idea who it is, so they shoot anyone who comes out. They cannot risk letting someone out who is extremely dangerous, such as a terrorist with a bomb. It would explain why the area has been evacuated and why the police aren't rushing in to apprehend them. As everyone discusses this theory, Nacho decides to hide his bag before they notice anything suspicious, but he is caught red-handed. Sergio and Andres hold Nacho, while Satur grabs the bag but does not dare to open it. Amparo takes it from him and opens it herself, discovering a pile of clothes and a hard disk. Nacho claims it's just work files, but as another argument erupts over what to do with it, Elena grabs it, throws it on the floor, and repeatedly steps on it until it's destroyed. Then she calls everyone babies for obsessing over ridiculous theories. However, Nacho is enraged that he was suspected solely because of his beard and for ignoring the shot, so he points to Sergio's suitcase to make the same accusation. Amparo takes the suitcase, and Sergio tries to retrieve it, prompting Satur to intervene to defend his employer, but Sergio instead hits him. Andres, startled, pulls out a gun to stop him and everyone is stunned, so Israel seizes the opportunity to steal the suitcase. After quoting the Bible again, he opens it to reveal a bunch of lingerie, which Sergio sells. At that point, a strange noise emerges from the bathroom. They had forgotten about the sick man. Andres shoots the door to open it, and they discover the man on the floor, bent over the toilet, bleeding ears, and a strange-looking syringe beside him. Suddenly, another noise draws their attention, this time from the streets. It's a truck carrying special masked agents who ignore the group's cries for help and instead pile up tires outside the bar, causing a fire. This fire emits a thick, dark smoke that appears on television. The news anchor mentions a large fire in the heart of Madrid, and the group realizes it was started by the government to cover up the killings. The sick man then emerges from the bathroom in critical condition, dropping his phone and telling them, "Don't touch me," before collapsing to the floor and dying. Nacho takes the man's phone and, after looking at the pictures, discovers that he was in the military and had previously worked in Africa. The photos also show a group of men in hazmat suits. Now it's clear, this man has brought a deadly disease with him. That is why the area has been evacuated and anyone in the bar has been shot. Most likely they are all infected and the government is covering it up. Everyone returns to trying to keep themselves busy while waiting, convinced that they will die, while Israel prepares the sick man for funeral prayers. Elena and Nacho take the sick man's phone, which has only 10% battery life, and decide to try to find a signal. Nacho accomplishes this by standing on a chair near a higher part of the bar ceiling, so he calls a coworker to explain where the television is lying. Sadr takes Nacho's phone away and begins desperately yelling for help, leading the coworker to believe it is a prank and hang up. Nacho believes there isn't enough battery left for another call, so the two men fight over the phone until the chair breaks and they fall, pushing everyone back. This prompts Trini to hit the slot machine and hit the jackpot, causing it to expel a slew of coins that Israel begins to collect. Andres wants to use the phone next, but Amparo warns him not to touch it because it used to belong to the sick man. In fact, Amparo wants everyone who touched the sick man to avoid her. Andres and Sergio agree with her, believing that precautions should be taken, so they flee from the group that touched him and hide with Amparo behind the counter. Elena thinks this is ridiculous because they've been together for hours and touched each other, but the trio insists on their decision. In fact, Andres threatens them with his gun, forcing them to go down the storeroom and take the sick man's body with them. Nacho initially refuses to leave, but changes his mind after Andres shoots the slot machine to demonstrate his seriousness. Israel is taking his sweet time as well, too busy quoting the Bible, so Amparo persuades him to go by giving him 2 bottles of alcohol. Inside the filthy old storeroom, the group chats to pass the time, but Trini becomes claustrophobic and begins to panic. She climbs the stairs and begins hitting the door, but in her desperation, she accidentally breaks a box of bottles. Nacho notices that there is no pool of liquid forming, implying that there must be a drain, which they discover after moving some items aside. When they remove the lid, they discover it is connected to the sewers and not very deep, so Israel offers to go down there. He removes his clothes and leaves his coin bag behind before applying oil to his body and attempting to go down the drain. Regardless of how hard the others push, the space is too narrow for Israel, and he is now stuck. Suddenly, they hear noises coming from upstairs. It appears that a group of people has entered the bar and is shooting Amparo, Andres, and Sergio. They then notice the temperature rising and smoke coming from the door, indicating that a fire has been started inside the bar to disinfect it. At this rate, they'll suffocate soon, so Elena, Nacho, and Sadr banded together to pull Israel out of the drain, allowing air to enter from the sewers. Trini is experiencing another anxiety attack and attempts to open the door, getting her hands burned in the process. They apply oil to her burns and wrap her hands in toilet paper while they wait for the situation to calm down. When they don't hear any more noises upstairs, Nacho opens the door with a broom and discovers the burnt bar but no bodies. The agents have taped out the door, so they can't see what's going on inside. The group decides to exit the storeroom, and Nacho discovers Andres' gun, which he conceals in his pants, even though the warm metal burns his skin. Trini wants to go outside and ask for help, but Nacho warns her that revealing their presence will only result in their deaths. No one feels sick, so Nacho believes it's just a matter of hiding for a few days until the incident is forgotten. After all, there's plenty to eat and drink in the storeroom. Everyone is startled by a sudden noise, but it is nothing to be concerned about. It is simply the sick man's phone, which is receiving a slew of messages. Elena investigates and discovers that a friend is checking on the guy to see if he's okay. The man appears to have had a fever for several days and was aware that he was being followed. He entered the bar looking for a bathroom to inject himself in secret after stealing some sort of experimental serum. It didn't work on this man, but he had been sick for quite some time. In contrast, no one in the group has symptoms yet, so it's possible it will work for them. At that point, the phone starts ringing. The person from the text is now calling. Nacho is unsure whether they should respond because it could be a trap, and it takes him so long to decide that the phone's battery dies. Sadr rushes upstairs to see if he can find a charger that fits when Elena recalls something. One of the messages mentioned 4 doses left. The group searches the body and discovers nothing, prompting them to rush to the restroom next. Israel arrives first, discovers the box containing the remaining 4 syringes, and begins singing when he realizes he now has control over the group. There are only 4 doses for 5 people, so while the group decides how to proceed, Israel injects himself with 1, expecting them to vote out the hobo. Nacho takes out his gun but does not shoot because Elena warns that they will be heard by the cops outside. Instead, he jumps on Israel and beats him up. Israel overpowers him and takes control of the gun, so when Satur attempts to retrieve the syringes, Israel hits him and the box falls into the storeroom. Trini rushes downstairs to pick it up, but due to her bandaged hands, she loses coordination and accidentally drops the box into the sewers. Someone thinner must pass through the hole, which leaves Elena as their only option. Elena enters the hole after removing her clothing and applying oil to her skin. Attempting to descend injures her thighs and causes her to bleed, but the group persists until she passes through and falls into the dirty water. It doesn't take long for her to find the box of syringes, but she refuses to tie it to the wire Nacho is lowering because she knows they'll use them all and leave her with nothing. Elena wants to be better than them, so she will not use one on herself, but if the others want to have a proper discussion about it, they must also come down. Elena goes exploring, while the others use a piece of pipe to enlarge the hole. Elena discovers a storm drain and investigates after hiding the syringes in a hole in the wall. On the streets, special agents and cops continue to surround the area and care for the bodies recovered from the bar. Then Elena returns to the storeroom hole, where she discovers that the men have already entered and are assisting Trini, whose flailing causes everyone to fall into the water. Satur and Trini escape unharmed, but Nacho seizes the opportunity to attack Israel in an attempt to recover the gun. A fight ensues underwater, and after a few shots are fired, Nacho emerges victorious, claiming that Israel did the shooting and vanished in the water after Nacho took his gun. The group believes Nacho killed Israel, who is becoming increasingly violent by the second. Elena, tired of everyone acting crazy, asks Nacho to dispose of the gun if he wants her to take them to the syringes. Instead of doing what she says, Nacho threatens to kill Satur, leaving Elena with no choice but to take them to the wall from earlier. On their way there, Trini uses the bag of coins she brought from Israel and drops them on the ground to help them find their way back. When they reach a dark tunnel, Trini cries out, pretending Satur is pushing her, when in fact she is pushing him into the water. Then she pretends to help him, when in reality she is grabbing his head and holding him down to drown him. Nacho fires a shot to get some light and notices what Trini is doing, so he quickly jumps into the water to help Satur. Then they move to a brighter tunnel, holding Trini at gunpoint, but Nacho refuses to shoot her. Trini admits she doesn't like being seen, so she grabs the gun and walks around the corner to end things herself. The remaining trio locates the syringes and distributes them among themselves, but before they can do anything, they hear the sound of coins being tossed. They go to investigate and discover Trini's body, with coins covering her eyes. This turns out to be a trap, because while they are distracted by Trini, Israel approaches from behind and kills Satur. Then he pursues Elena and Nacho, who run through the tunnels until they reach a set of stairs that leads outside. As they climb, Elena trips and loses her syringe, while Israel grabs Nacho. Given that he has no way out, Nacho gives Elena his syringe and lets go of the stairs, causing both men to fall and die. Elena, crying, injects herself before pushing the manhole lid at the bottom of the stairs until she can move it and escape. She finds herself on the other side of the containment zone, and everyone is staring at how she looks. A man approaches her and asks if she's okay, and a woman hands her a jacket, but Elena ignores them both and walks away with a dazed expression. She's so lost in her own thoughts that she doesn't notice she's walking past the guy she was supposed to have a date with. He even calls her name, but Elena just keeps moving forward.